In 1968, my dad took my brother and I to see Bullitt. And I got to tell you, it was the most amazing movie experience. The only other thing I enjoyed more was when he'd take us to see James Bond stuff like Diamonds Are Forever. And then he would cover our eyes when Jill St. John's ass showed up in a bikini. Anyway, this movie blew my mind, and I formed such an attachment for that car. And about 2 months later, the guy 2 doors down bought one. And he used to take my brother and I for ice cream in it. And I think another reason I have a fond memory of the car is because the guy never touched us, you know. He just bought us ice cream and brought us home. By the way, my parents hardly knew the guy. Putting your 2 kids in a stranger's car to go for ice cream. I swear to God, if my parents had had one of those passwords for us, those safety things like kids have today, it would have been, "Hey, little boy, would you like some candy?" Unbelievable. Anyway, this guy was a great guy. He let me sit in the driver's seat a couple of times, and that's when I formed an obsession for this car. Then I got my TV show, and I think it was the 3rd year. I found one, and it was in a junkyard in Cookstown. And it was originally a Chicago car. And the thing was in relatively good shape. The thing you got to look for is a good frame. So my cousin's husband was an ace body man. I took it to him. The guy did a beautiful job on the body, everything else. And then for some reason he sent it to some tractor repair guys to rebuild the engine. Why he did that, I'll never know. Anyway, this thing turned out to be a fucking nightmare and a half. And then about 6 months after I bought it, I found out it was a 67, not a 68. It looked just like the 68, but it was a 67. Used to stick in my craw every time I got behind the wheel. And I got to tell you, power steering was an option on those cars. I used to go into reverse, and I did it so many times that my biceps were 9 inches. It was unbelievable trying to back this car up. And I was blowing frost plugs left, right, and center every time it was over 70 degrees. I remember driving and going, how the hell did anybody have this as their primary vehicle in 1967? Because you got to know the guy didn't have 2 cars. I mean, he probably slapped a set of snows on this thing and drove it all winter. So, as much as I loved the car, after about 2 years, the car became a bit of a love-hate relationship. If I took it out and it was 85, I'd blow a frost plug. I'd have to go in. Anyway, the moral of the story is if I had it to do all over again, I would throw a brand new Ford engine in it with an oversized rad, and I would get power steering put in. Sorry, guys. I know there's a lot of purists out there who are going to hate me for saying this, but I'd still have the car today if I'd done that. Would have been so much more fun to have. And besides, if I ever buy another car like that, it's going to be to make it a driver, not as an investment. I don't understand people who buy muscle cars as investments and let them sit. You know, it's the same kind of guys who have Harley-Davidson motorcycles with a plate of glass over them in the living room and turn them into coffee tables. What the fuck is wrong with you? So one day I was at a gas station. Guy came up to me, said, "Wow, what a beautiful car. Would you ever be interested in selling it?" And he caught me on the right day at the right time. I said, "Yeah, well, you know, maybe." He said, "Do you have any trouble with it?" I said, "No, I don't have any trouble with it." And the guy showed up with a bag of cash at my door that afternoon, and it was so long 1967 imitation Bullitt car.